Okay, if we've got everything packed, the boys are showing up in a half hour for the bus to take us to the airport, go to Wales. What do I say in the team talk? The last 4 times, I've told them there's no pressure and we've lost every single final. Maybe I shouldn't give a team talk this time. That actually seems like a good idea. I'll just let them do their thing, treat it like a normal game, and we'll be fine. Get some revenge on Ollie and Joe Corcoran. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 167 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode is the 2035 Champions League Final, a rematch from last year. We try and get payback against Manchester United after they defeated us on penalties in this game last season. As well as that, we are going to do the end of European season roundup and also see what does happen a little bit in the future off the back of this Champions League final. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. I've just had a tooth pulled out a couple of hours ago, but I think I'm going to be fine to get through this video. Absolute balls up from me scheduling that for the day of a Champions League final recording, but I'm feeling okay. So hopefully we can get through this without me clutching at my left jaw too much, because it feels like the anesthetic is just about to wear off. So hopefully we'll get through this one before it becomes just a little bit more painful than it currently does feel. And also, no matter what happens in today's episode, even if we do win our first Champions League, the save is going to continue. Moving house in a couple of weeks' time, or actually close to kind of a month and a half. And with that happening, that might just mean that videos just get a little bit more infrequent on the channel in and around that. So I think instead of trying to start a new save, we're just going to carry this one on for the remainder of the FM22 cycles. As I said, even if we do win our first Champions League title today, this save is going to continue, and hopefully we can help build up the other Icelandic teams in the nation as well, so they might be able to win one of the lower UEFA competitions as well. But before we do get stuck into our opposition in today's Champions League final, as I mentioned towards the end of yesterday's episode, which was the semi-final against Real Madrid. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it in the top right corner. But we were starting the domestic season and did have quite a tough task early on domestically, taking on the other two teams who did make their way through to the group stages of Europe this past season. Phil and HK thankfully got through those games quite comfortably in the end, picking up 2 4-1 victories against Phil with our backup team. So it was actually a really good win. And then we put out our first team against HK at home and picked up a fairly comfortable 4-1 win there as well. Off the back of that, we put out our first rotation for the last time prior to this Champions League final. I'm really hoping we didn't use up all of our goals in this game, because we took on KA and we bet them by a scoreline of 14-0. That is a new top league record here in Iceland, as you would expect. I'm hoping that means we're going to have lots of goals in us today, but a very good performance there, our last outing for the first team before this Champions League final. Off the back of that, we put out some players who haven't played for Völsungur in quite a while, the likes of Ian Carlo in there, the likes of Patrick Nygaard, Frederick Larson, and we still picked up a 5-0 win against Akranes. That means that at the early stages of the domestic season, we are on top with an exceedingly healthy goal differential, thanks to that win over KH, who are rock bottom off the back of that 14-0 defeat. But we are on top of the table, the only team yet to suffer defeat already, with a good little jump there over both HK and Phil here, thanks to those wins in our first 2 games of the season. But before we get into the Champions League final as well, we are going to wrap up what has happened around Europe, apart from, of course, the Champions League, do our end of European season roundup before we finish things off with this Champions League final. We will start off with the results from the other 2 UEFA competitions. We start off with the Conference League, which of course HK were in the knockouts of. They got beaten by Nice in the second knockout round. Nice in the end made their way all the way through to the final, so not bad there from HK, especially because they did have a lead at the halfway stage of that tie, but in the end Nice they get outdone by the richness of Newcastle. They pick up their first European title in a very long time to go alongside the Europa League. They won back in 1969, Newcastle picking up the Conference League there for 2035 with a 2-0 win there over Nice in the final. And up to the Europa League, which we had a little bit less interest in once HK did get knocked out in the group stages, but in the end it was Arsenal who picked this up. They beat perennial Europa League winners Sevilla in the final in 2035 by a scoreline of 1-0. So at the moment the English are on for a clean sweep. Hopefully though we can stop that in this upcoming final against Manchester United. But before we do get into that, we'll just do a quick recap of who finished where in the top 5 European leagues. We start off with Ligue 1, and at the moment Nimes are in a pretty strong position to be winning that playoff there between the Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 sides. So we'll just see if that means that someone interesting is going to be relegated, and it does indeed look like Strasbourg might be making their way down to Ligue 2, but Brest and Auxerre are the other teams who are going to get relegated. But PSG picked up the title here yet again very, very comfortably, 15 points clear of Montpellier, and then a big gap back to Lille, who are the final Champions League qualifier from France for the next European season. Ajaccio and Marseille will be making their way into the Europa League. That means that Marseille must have won the Coupe de France, and Nice are going to be in the Conference League yet again. Next up, we make our way over to the Bundesliga. It does look like Osnabrück have beaten Hamburg there in the playoff, and what that means is that Hamburg are going to get relegated. So at the moment, all the second division teams are winning the playoffs, but Hamburg, Hanover, and Bochum make their way down. Bayern Munich pick up the Bundesliga very comfortably, 18 points clear of Dortmund. Hertha Berlin and Cologne are going to be the other teams in the Champions League next season. Gladbach and RB Leipzig in the Europa League, and Bayer Leverkusen just missing out there thanks to goal differential, and they will drop down into the Conference League. Next up, we have Serie A, and a little bit of a different look to it this year because Inter Milan have picked up the title quite comfortably there by 10 points over Napoli. Juventus could only manage their way into third spot, so it's a bit of a disappointing season there for Juventus, but they still get Champions League football alongside the other half of Milan. In AC, Hellas Verona and Sampdoria are in the Europa League, and Roma will be entering the Conference League next season. Next up is La Liga. Real Madrid, who we beat in yesterday's episode, had a pretty comfortable lead over Barcelona when we started off that one, and they held onto it, beating them to the title by 8 points. Valencia and Real Sociedad will also be competing in the Champions League next season. Athletic Bilbao and Sevilla in the Europa League. That is a very good match, as I said earlier, for Sevilla, and Atletico Madrid continue to struggle just a little bit in the save. They will be down in the Conference League. And the Premier League, as we discussed yesterday, Man United have well and truly sealed this title a long time ago. They end up with 99 points, just one off the 100 mark, end up winning it by 14 points over Chelsea. Man City just jump above Liverpool into that third spot, but both of those teams are going to be in the Champions League next season. Arsenal will also, of course, be in the Champions League off the back of their win in the Europa League, and that means that Newcastle are in the Europa League, which they would have been anyway because they won the Conference League, and Leeds United are going to be in the Conference League, albeit depending on who wins between us and Man United in this final, Leicester City might also get some European football as well. So that's a wrap up of what has happened in the top 5 leagues, and that does mean we can have a bit of a look now at Manchester United. Obviously had a very good season domestically. Hopefully we get some revenge on these guys for what happened in that penalty shootout this time last season. Very good team, are missing a few players, as I said, from the team that they did put out last season. Theo Hernandez has just picked up an injury, so he's missing for this one, and also the likes of Bruno Fernandes have retired since the Champions League final last season. But apart from that, it is still a strong looking Manchester United lineup, but hopefully this time we get the rub of the green and can pick up our first European title. As we mentioned yesterday, usually Manchester United do pick up the Champions League right off the back of a Man City win. That is not the case this season, so hopefully we can get our name on this trophy for the first time. In terms of us, we're pretty much sticking to what worked against Real Madrid yesterday. Hopefully it works again here against Man United, but we'll come back shortly with the team sheets as we play the 2035 Champions League final from the Millennium Stadium against Manchester United. And here are the team sheets for this Champions League final. We'll show them on this page because it is an extended bench, and also there's a player still at Manchester United, who I don't want to show their face. But in terms of us first, as I said, exactly the same as we were for the Champions League semi-final yesterday, but of course an extended bench, so we do have some more options down there should we need to call upon them. That might be useful if someone like Tigre has to come on for one of Zimmerman or Saki, and then the other one struggles. That might mean that Hans Voss can come on, cover right wing, and we can put Tigre up front. So it could actually be useful, that extended bench. In terms of Man United, yet again, despite starting very few games in the Champions League this season, they call on one of our former goalkeepers in Joe Corcoran to start a Champions League final. Of course, he's the player who saved every penalty in that shootout last season. It does feel like Ollie at the moment is kind of taking the piss with him against us in Champions League finals, but hopefully this time we can have the last laugh. But apart from that, as I said, just those changes that we did run through before with the losses of Theo Hernandez thanks to injury, and of course Bruno Fernandes through retirement. Apart from that, a pretty strong looking team there. As you can see in the top left, they have just brought in Corcoran for some reason ahead of Aiden. I don't know why Ole is doing that. And also Jude Bellingham comes in for Ibrahim 14, a very good midfielder who they signed for £150 million just this past January. So he is a very expensive player to be on the bench there for Man United. But as I said, hopefully, especially with Joe Corcoran in goal, we get some payback and pick up our first Champions League title here in 2035. And 6 minutes into this one, we have our first highlight, a throw in here for Man United just inside our final third, and they do get on the attack here. Jude Bellingham with a ball over the top, of Marcus Rashford crashes that into the top left corner. We are just waiting though for a VAR check. It did look fairly close. I didn't see anything too obvious there, but VAR comes to our rescue. So thankfully, we get away with that early scare, especially off the back of an early yellow card to Filippo Donelli. Our offside trap there, even though we're not playing one, actually works quite well. So thankfully Rashford is offside and it does stay 0-0 coming up to the 10-minute mark. And we are about to reach the half-hour mark in this one. At the moment, quite an even game. We will tell the boys to play for set pieces, seeing as our ass man has suggested it. It worked quite well, of course, prior to the games in yesterday's episode, just adjusting some team instructions here for Man United, some personal player instructions, but at the moment, just that one highlight so far in this one, and the scoreline remains 0-0 with about 10 minutes left in the first half. And that is half-time in this Champions League final, just that one highlight, that offside goal to Marcus Rashford. But apart from that, you could argue we have had slightly the better of things in this one, more shots on target, slightly higher XG, Man United with more shots, but less on target. But at the moment, fairly happy with how things are going. We've got a little bit more possession. Hopefully we can make the most of that come this second half, but I don't think we need to make any changes just yet. Mizkic is down to a 6.4, but is certainly a better option than Jonah, so we'll give him some time to get that rating up to start off the second half. We'll tell the boys we owe them some revenge because we didn't actually use that before the game, and hopefully we can pick up our first Champions League here, still locked up at 0-0 as we kick off the second half. And we've gone forward to the hour mark, still just that one highlight with an offside goal in this game, so it's been a very quiet one, but our left-hand side not performing well, so we're going to make some substitutions. Bokek on for Herrera, and Jonata will come on for Mizkic, just debating whether Hans Voss would be a better option, but Jonata a lot more natural as an inside forward, especially with that finishing. So those are our first two subs, still 0-0 with a half hour left. And we are about to enter the last 10 minutes of this one. Still no highlights since that early offside goal. Still a pretty even game. Man United slightly edging things now in terms of the stats, you could argue, but Adam Saki, like he has done the last couple of years in Champions League finals, going missing just a little bit. So Tigre, the man in form, will come on for him, and hopefully that makes a difference here in these last 10 minutes, still locked up at 0-0. And we are entering injury time in this one, and we do just have a highlight finally. Something else happening in this Champions League final. Man United try and get on the attack. We head that clear, and Tigre does get on the ball. Someone's running through there, opts to go over the top, picks out Nicholas Zimmerman. Tight angle, but gets that in with a lot of help off the woodwork. But what a time to score that is, with only 2 minutes of injury time left, and immediately we are going to time waste the heck out of this one. That could be the goal which seals us our first ever Champions League title. We're going to frequently time waste, be more disciplined, slow the pace down, and we might even hold our shape instead of counter here when we have one possession, just to try and keep the ball if we do get it back here from the restart. But what a time to score that is. We'll just make sure that everything here looks nice and dandy, and hopefully that will keep us ahead here in this last minute and a bit. But what a goal that is. Tigre with some impact off the bench gets possession back for us. Nice ball over the top there for Zimmerman. Did think that was a little bit too tight of an angle, but our former goalkeeper Joe Corcoran, we know he's useless. He just proves it there, and Zimmerman puts that away in the back of the net. But unfortunately, there is a highlight off of the restart. Hopefully, we get the ball back here and can just hold on to it before full time. Hopefully, this is just a meaningless highlight that is there to try and scare us here. But Renan is given a lot of space down the left-hand side, puts that one in there for Venegas, I think that was, but a good slide tackle from Ramadan, albeit the clearance does fall back at the feet of a Man United player. 14 picks out their right winger there in Kalulu. They're finding a lot of space here down the wings. It's blocked there off the Vincent shot. It does fall to Venegas. He puts that away. Hopefully, someone there was offside. Otherwise, we have just bottled things massively, and that is becoming a bit of a trend if it is the case. And unfortunately, the goal is awarded just after we grab the lead with only a few minutes left of injury time. Man United strike back. It is all action late, and Venegas will give Man United a very late equaliser there, which will surely take this one to extra time. Obviously, off the back of that, we're going to completely undo all those things that we did just do before, go back to our normal game plan. We will still leave on play for set pieces. It does seem to be working fairly well for us today, and we'll see if anything else does happen here before we head into extra time. It does not. Man United with a very late goal after we get one in injury time, and that means that we go into extra time locked up at 1-1. I think we'll save our changes for now. We might just keep things safe in case we need to bring on someone a little bit better at penalties than what's already out there, but we're about to kick off extra time here, locked up at 1-1. And 5 minutes into extra time, we have our first highlight of it. It's a throw from a very similar position to where they scored that Rashford offside goal did Man United, but this game is kicking into gear off the back of that Zimmerman goal. They find some space there. Nice ball into the box, but thankfully Vincent just heads that over the bar. Still 1-1 with about 20 minutes left of this one. And up to the 101-minute mark now, and yet again Man United look to get something going here on the attack right around the halfway line, and then try and get something going here down the right-hand side. Blowman puts the ball into the mixer. Ramadan will clear that, but Grunskov is there to get possession back, and they are right on the attack here. Ball inside the blocks, a couple of block shots, and thankfully we do deal with that. If only we did that in the 93rd minute, but at the moment the scoreline does remain 1-1. We'll see if that stays the same going into half-time and extra time. Indeed, that is the case. I have just checked some penalty-taking options on the bench, so we might bring on one of those with a few minutes left if it is still locked up. But at the moment, 1-1 as we have just kicked off the second bit of extra time, but just going to adjust some player instructions before we get into this fully. And about to enter the last few minutes of the second half here of extra time, and indeed I think this is time for us to make a bit of a gamble in terms of penalty takers. We'll just go through the players who are on the pitch. I don't think taking off a defender for another defender is going to help us too much in terms of penalty taking, especially considering the finishing of some of these players. Indeed, that is not the case when our option on the bench is Waswa. So I think what that means is that we are going to take off Bassero Gay for Bruno Costa unless there's a big difference between Voss and Zimmerman. That is not the case, and also Zimmerman did pick up the goal in regular time, so we'll keep him on the field. Bassero Gay, not the best penalty taker. Bruno Costa, a slightly better finisher. So I think that's going to be our substitution here going into what hopefully with the sub is going to be a penalty shootout. Otherwise that might bite me in the bum, but that is going to be our substitution here in extra time. And indeed it does look like this one is going to penalty, so we'll just get our order sorted out and try and get some revenge for last year, of course, when we lost the penalty shootout in the Champions League Final. Hopefully this time we can get the better of Joe Corcoran. And here is our order for this penalty shootout. We've sort of ordered it on a basis of penalty ability as well as finishing ability. So our order is Basicki, Doumbia, Bruno Costa, Aga Tigare, Jonata Zimmerman, Bokek, Denali, Ramadan, Krollo, and of course then Carl Vollen, trying to get most of our attacking players to take a penalty before the defenders do, albeit Alain Basicki is our best penalty taker at the club, so quite a useful player to have on the pitch. But that is what we are going to go with for this penalty shootout. We'll see what we need to do here with the team talk. I think we'll just tell the boys this is their chance to be heroes. No regrets. We'll try and really talk it up to them this time, because over the past few years in team talks, we've kind of played it safe and said there's no pressure. I think we need to try and turn that the other way just to see if that changes something, because at the moment in the save, we are 0 from 4 in European finals, but first up is us. That could be quite big. And Elaine Basicki, can we get off to a good start? Sends Cork around the wrong way, and immediately that is a lot more promising signs than what we had in the penalty shootout in the Champions League final last season. Next up is Jude Bellingham. He also sends our goalkeeper the wrong way, so 1-1 after the first set of penalties. Next up is our world-class midfielder in Lassana Doumbia. Can he put this one away? The goalkeeper goes the right way, but it's a very well-placed penalty that into the bottom left corner, at least from this angle. And next up is the big money man off the bench for Man United in 14. Vollen goes the right way, but can't quite get to it. The two very similar penalties there, and the scoreline is 2-2 after 2 each. Next up is our substitute player in Bruno Costa. Please get this, and the goalkeeper goes the right way, but Bruno Costa, too sharp, does the shoot, and McGavin over to Carl Vollen, and hopefully he can pull off a save here off of Venegas, the man who did score that goal right at the end of injury time and normal time in this one, but his penalty does make its way into the back of the net. Next up for us is Aga Tegare. The goalkeeper goes the right way, but thankfully yet again we do beat Joe Corcoran, so we're certainly looking a lot better at penalties than we were compared to this time last season. Next up, a player who we did nearly sign in Robson Fernando. Wallen goes the right way, but a very well taken penalty into the top right corner, and now Jonata, if he can make this one, all we need is one save. What can he do? He goes right down the middle. That's Virgil van Dijk like in the Carabao Cup final against Kepa, and it does find its way into the back of the net, and that means that if Vincent here, the Swiss winger for Man United, can't find the back of the net, we pick up our first Champions League title. Can Big Carl pull off a big save? He goes the right way. Somehow that squeaks through. He should have got on top of that. I feel like might have done a harbour bridge there, and this penalty shootout will continue. Next up is Nicholas Zimmerman, the goal scorer. He buries that in the bottom right corner. So yet again, we do have a chance here to win the Champions League final with a save. And next up for Man United, surely they're getting close to some of their defensive midfielders and their general defenders now, but it is Lionel Blom, and he's a very good striker, so this is actually quite a good option here for Man United as the sixth man. Can we stop him and win our first title? He sends the ball on the wrong way, and we carry on here. And now Premsel Bokek, a decent penalty taker for a wing back, and that's a good penalty. Corcoran does go the right way, but he cannot save it. So yet again, it's another chance for us here to win the Champions League. And next up for Man United is Bukurek. I believe he's a defender, so hopefully this will give Carl Vollen a decent chance to win us our first Champions League. All we need is one save, but he sends him somewhat the wrong way, kind of goes down the middle. So this penalty shootout continues on, and next up for us is Filippo Dinelli on a yellow card. Not that that matters these days. The goalkeeper goes the right way yet again, but some very well placed penalties here. Dinelli gives it to him, which is nice to see off the back of last season. And now it is Grunkskov. He is a defender who came off the bench. He's not the greatest player, truth be told. Had a look at him, wasn't that impressed by him. Hopefully he's the one who gives us our first Champions League win. Carl Vollen makes the save, and Völsungur are the 2035 Champions League winners. Get in. We get some revenge on last season. Suck on that Joe Corcoran. And for the first time in this save, finally in 2035, in our third straight Champions League final, it is Völsungur who will lift up the big dog here in Europe. Here comes the Hendo shuffle, but this time it is going to be Ali Ramadan. He takes his time. He does the Hendo shuffle, and he lifts the Champions League. And Völsungur, for the first time in the save, win a European title, the fifth time of asking. Finally, we don't bottle it, and we pick up our first Champions League win in this save. Völsungur are the Champions League champions. And back in the inbox off the back of that win on penalties in the Champions League final. That feels oh so sweet after we just got absolutely done in the penalty shootout last season. This time we make all of our penalties, and after making 3 straight Champions League finals, we finally pick up our first one, and it's against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United. You love to see it. There's a bit of a recap of the stats, seeing as we didn't actually show you guys those off the back of that trophy presentation, but thankfully we made up for that late conceded goal from Venegas. Otherwise, I might have been just putting a bottle here in front of my face and talking like that for the rest of this episode, because if we lost that one, that would have felt really, really bad, because we nearly had that one in regular time, but they got a goal back. Thankfully, this time, though, we are the team that gets the better of things on penalties. We have already picked up a treble for the season, so we might actually have our most successful season here at the club with that Champions League next to our names, as long as we can also win the league, as you would expect, as well as the Malka Bicker, and we get £17.1 million for winning the final. That's about 8 million more than we would have got for losing it. So a nice little extra injection there of money. There's the medals for the Champions League win. Most of the players who have played a fair bit for us this season, obviously that does mean someone like Kalen Rakasan is going to pick up a medal, despite the fact that he ditched us for Inter Milan, but he did play a bit of a part in the early stages of the competition, even though he did actually miss some later games in the group stage through injury. Basaro Gay happy to stay. That is because we actually promised him we would win the Champions League in the next 3 seasons back in January, so that ticks that off. So hopefully Basaro Gay, that's going to keep him happy probably until next January, because he's a player who does want to leave quite often. The fans are happy. We pick up our first Champions League. The board are absolutely stoked. Dumby is wanted by PSG. They can absolutely sod off about that, and we receive a little bit more money, 20.6 million from the coefficient ranking pool. We'll check in on that shortly. We pay out some money, and we are the winners and the biggest overachievers in the Champions League this season. We finally get the monkey off of the back. A quick look at the club info as well. I'd imagine this has gone up off the back of a win in the Champions League, and indeed it has. We've gone up from 4-star reputation to 4.5-star now. That means we should be able to attract some really, really good players to the club now, albeit we can kind of do that already on that 4-star reputation, but that might help us out just a little bit more. And a quick look at what the coefficient does look like off the back of this European season. We started this one off in 11th, somehow ended up entering straight into the group stage anyway, of course, because we've won the Champions League. That is also going to be the case next season. I'm not too sure if that means another Icelandic team gets a spot in Europe as well. That could be something interesting, which we discover come the start of next week, but we were hoping we'd make our way inside the top 10 come the end of this coefficient season. If we go over and have a look at what the coefficient is going to be for the next season, you can see that we have been bumped up by 2. We haven't quite done enough to jump above Holland, just below them by 0.183 of a coefficient, but we have gone above both Scotland and Austria, so we have secured ourselves that automatic group spot for a few seasons' time, even though we did get it last season. Anyway, for some reason, we have now actually made our way into that top 10 and into 9th spot. So we are inside the top 10 now. That's the highest we have been so far in this save. Those changes won't kick in until the start of the 36-37 season, but we are now inside the top 10 in the European coefficient rankings. In terms of what that does mean, the qualification places, not too much difference. Although I say that, and there is actually quite a bit of difference. HK, provided they finish second, or the team that does finish second in the league, they will enter in the 3rd qualifying round instead of the 2nd qualifying round, albeit I think HK have been entering in the 3rd qualifying round lately anyway, so maybe they're going to be in a league path playoff. We get an automatic team into the group stages of the Europa League, so that is a very nice carrot indeed, and we also get teams in a Conference League playoff as well as in the 2nd qualifying round, so some teams in Iceland should be entering qualification a little bit deeper, as well as now 2 teams guaranteed to make the group stages of European competitions. So making that top 10 and going up to 9th is actually going to prove quite useful indeed come the start of the 2036-37 season. And going forward just a little bit further, I think this is where we're going to wrap things up for today's episode. Some awards from this past Champions League season. Erling Haaland was the Golden Boot winner. Adam Saki ending up in 3rd, albeit quite distantly there behind both Haaland and Bloman. He does seem to underperform in finals for us, which is interesting because he did win AFCON again this past season with Morocco and scored a hat-trick in the final, so he does perform quite well on the international stage as Saki in big games, but that doesn't seem to translate quite as much, as far as I can tell, into European competition so far in this save. But the overall dream team for the Champions League, we have got 5 players in it. Carl Vollen in goal, both of our young wing backs. That's quite good work from both Herrera And Krollo, we've got Mizkic and Zimmerman, as well as Lassana Doumbia in the dream team for Man United players. And then, of course, the Golden Boot winner in Erling Haaland up front, and also some other award winners there. Cal Vollen, the goalkeeper of the season, Filippo Dinelli, the defender of the season, Lassana Doumbia and Zimmerman runners-up to Venegas in the midfielder of the season, and Saki was ranked third behind Haaland and Bloman in terms of the Champions League forward of the season, and Filippo Dinelli very happy with that award indeed. But I think that's where we're going to leave things for today's episode. We finally pick up our first European title of the save, but we are going to carry on, as I said, and keep trying to take this Icelandic league and the other teams in this nation onto some further glory in the save. But if you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back sometime around where the other Icelandic teams are close to finishing their qualifying for the next European season. Keep an eye out on that, and we'll also take part in the group stage draw for the Champions League come the start of next week. We'll do our squad overview as well, run through any more transfers that we might do off the back of this episode, albeit we don't have that much transfer budget left, but we might be able to sell a few players as well. So we'll see what happens there. We'll do a big update around all that stuff come Monday before we get stuck back into the group stages of the next Champions League season come Tuesday next week. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.